discuss as young people, people that are citizens of Zambia, as well as leaders and people who participated in elections. Well, of course, I have Jito with me in this conversation, but before we dive into the conversation, we got a few questions from people online discussing a very sensitive and very important topic, I must say, which is post-election healing and youth participation in governance. So I would like to welcome Jito Kayumba to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Ruth, for hosting me once again. And so nice to have, many of you who are watching us online who've joined us. I think it's important for us to continue this conversation. The last time we appeared live, it was right before the election.
Right.
And of course, a lot has happened since. We've had an outcome. And it's important that we stay consistent. We stay engaged with the people out there so that they have a clear understanding of where we're going from here. What now? What next? How do we move on as a country?
Right.
Whether you are part of the winning team or the team that did not succeed.
Oh yeah. So we do have a few questions that we got from the comment section as per tradition, but we'll still take more questions online.
Sure.
I'll just dive into the questions because we do have quite a number. Yeah.
Sure.
So I'll start with my first question from Rosemary Mulenga. It reads, if elections are meant to give citizens a voice, why do they sometimes leave society divided, and how do we change that?
Wow, that's a great question from Rosemary, right?
Rosemary, yes.
Yeah, well, it's true. I think, first and foremost, elections are a platform, a democratic platform where citizens get to choose the leaders that they want based on ideology, all sorts of reasons that people make decisions.
Right.
Now, as citizens, we often have different opinions over who we are going to choose. And sometimes there's certainly a risk that our opinions, when they don't align with the opinions of others, it can cause a difference among the citizens. And that creates some degree of tension, right? And the reality is, we've recognized that even when you watch TV, when you watch elections in the US, in the UK, whether you're conservative, you're liberal, whether you're Labour, whether you're Democrat, you're Republican, you could see the passion, right? You've got one group saying MAGA, another group who want another person, right? So Zambia is no different. And Zambia, fortunately, has matured significantly as a democracy on the continent of Africa, because what we have to remember, not many African countries can go through an election peacefully and have an outcome. And where there's a transfer of leadership from an incumbent to an opposition, as was the case in 2021, you actually have a peaceful transition. And this is something that we've enjoyed for since 1964, right?
Right.
And something we should continue to protect, and I think the key really is for those who win to maintain a high degree of dignity or engage the competitors in a dignified manner. And at the same time, those who do not succeed, essentially acknowledge that, look, it was a battle that they lost, and acceptance is important as part of life. Same thing with football, same thing with many other things that people compete over. It should never leave a lasting scar on society where people feel so aggrieved that they cannot even be friends anymore, or don't see eye to eye with a family member, or even people who wear different colors, whether it be blue or red or green, that they cannot engage. So the truth is, my answer is somewhat, how do I say, I put it at a high level without any specific detail, because it's it's one that is not very easy to answer. But I'll tell you one thing, by the way, before we move on to the next question, is I actually know what it's like to be on the losing side and feel the frustration of losing, right? I remember before 2021, of course, I was part of President Hichilema's team in 2016, and we lost that election. And the emotion of losing an election it's tough, right? So the reason why I have that empathy for those who've obviously lost is because I know what it feels like to be on the other side. But you eventually do accept and you move on, right? And the rest is history.
Yeah, and that takes me to my next question.
Yeah.
Because you spoke of knowing how it feels.
Yes.
So there's a question from Keith Mwango. It reads, what should happen when political leaders realize that something they said during the campaign was misunderstood or created unnecessary tension?
Yeah. And that's the thing about competitive politics, is that people say things
Right.
in the heat of the moment. We've watched campaigns over the last 3 months prior to the election on the, what they call it, the stomp, right? Being on the stage, the rallies. There's
Right.
a lot that's said. Some of it could aggravate, right? Their counterparts. And that naturally does create a degree of tension. But the most important thing that we must do as a society is really recognize that it's ultimately a competition of ideas, right? There's different reasons why people support a candidate and so on. And you've heard a lot of things said in the midst of a campaign where, the stakes are seen to be so high that people are willing to do drastic things in order to succeed, right? Which is obviously a very difficult thing to stomach. The reality is, I think it's also important that leaders exercise maturity, regardless on which side of the spectrum you're on, whether you succeed or you don't, especially at the time when the election is over. Because citizens as a whole have to move on, whether they won or whether they lost. Because the worst thing we can have is allowing whatever was said before carry through and become a huge source of tension in the country. All right, and I need to make an admission. I've been guilty myself of, in the heat of the exchanges online, I got caught up in a bit of banter here and there, and there's some things that I can say now were quite regrettable, and I will mention this, and I think it's important, Ruth. You may not know this, and there's a lot of things I'm not permitted to talk about because of the context of certain things that transpired, but I'll draw you to a moment that took place, I think it was the day right after the election. Right. There was, of course, talk of a lot of things that transpired. And, I remember there was an allegation that a certain gentleman, I believe is the husband to the to Honorable Tasila, right? It was said that he had been hurt or something like that. Right. But then moments later, I saw a clip with him in it. So, of course, that created a lot of jokes, like, people are pretending that they are unwell.
Yeah, true.
So now, in the midst of that, there was another story that another gentleman was hurt. Okay. And they said he was in hospital, right? So again, jokingly answered, he's not... He's just looking for medicine for, blood pressure. Something I wrote. Little did I know, in fact, I found out, like the rest of the country, a few days later, that the gentleman who was being referred to actually passed away. Oh, no. And I immediately regretted what I said. And of course, government is structured in a certain way, where you're in silos, right? You're on a need-to-know basis. Some things are way higher than my pay grade, whether it be... there's what the security wings do, which we don't know about because they're the security wings, and there's secrecy around the operations in the interest of national security. Right. So it's possible for me not to know, and this is one of those circumstances where I did not know. So one of the things, talking about mistakes and healing, I want to be able to, genuinely, sincerely, from the heart, extend condolences to the family of the gentleman, or at least the people who had passed away during the course of, this past election, for whatever reason. Not only is extend condolences, but for the comment I made with regards to in the context of not knowing the condition of the gentleman, because of course, like I mentioned, we're doubtful what was happening. I would like to really apologize to them for that, because the reality is, there's a lot can be said without knowing. And that's why, for me personally, it's important to apologize. And at the same time, I hope that everyone, as a country, regardless of, I mentioned win, lose. On the winning side, you don't gloat to a point that you make your neighbor feel so bad about the outcome of the election that they can't even exercise their rights as a citizen anymore. Right. At the same time, the same group that lost, they should not feel that they will not be treated fairly. This is why it was important for me, immediately the announcement came, we had a video ready to convey our appreciation for the election, to appreciate those who supported our candidate, but at the same time recognize that we need to embrace those who actually lost, because they're Zambians, right? 1.8 million people is a lot of people, regardless of the fact that we got way more votes, but that's a lot of people. and they have family, they have people who depend on them, and they had hopes in their own way that their candidate would deliver something that would benefit them. But they should know that we, as a government, we want to, as part of the healing, as part of, being Zambian is a unique and amazing thing. It's that we are peaceful, we're stable, all these things. We're polite, we're friendly, we're embracing, and that is often tested at times like this. And in the midst of this test, I think it's time for us to step up and show love, even in the midst of difficulty. Because I can tell you, even right now, there's a lot of insults flying around, a lot of negative talk. But we owe it to ourselves, as Christians especially, to have a high degree of magnanimity. Because this is what the president is like, in terms of him being all-embracing and really wanting us to be united as a country. So I hope that, answers your question. I think to wrap it up, I think one is that we must acknowledge when we're wrong, as I've done today. Of course, beyond acknowledging, embrace people, be understanding, listen to understand, not to defend yourself, have empathy and feeling for the condition of other people. And I think that is part of the process in us moving away from the tension of all the negative exchanges to now a platform of national development and unity. Yeah.
Speaking of difference in political views, how can we encourage young people from different political parties to work together on national development despite their political differences? From Jeremiah Mafonka.
Okay, so thank you for that, Jeremiah. I'll tell you, one thing that always amazes me, especially among young people, is, of course, there's a lot of passion over the party they support, regardless of which party you support, right? But the other thing is the way people deliberately exclude themselves from being engaged in activities that are beneficial, like business or even having an opinion on governance. You find people exclude themselves, especially when they're not victorious, because they feel like, oh, I'm now an outcast.
Right.
We have to do things differently, especially young people are a generation of people who can definitely lead the way in terms of being a bit more, perhaps turning the page and being mature in debate, in discourse, where a member of UPND, a member of PF or SP or CP, there's so many parties out there. This does not mean that one becomes an enemy. To change their minds based on new information they get. Sometimes because of ideas, but because of, oh, my cousin is that, so if he becomes this position, I'm going to benefit. Or this person is, and I'll be blunt with you, and we as a country, we also have to speak honestly. Some might vote for a party because of tribe, right? Oh, no, this tribe is mine, so therefore I'm going to support that party. These are real things that we have to come to terms with. But we must also be more open-minded, right, to the fact that we, as a country, Zambia is bigger than political parties. And parties come and go. And over the years, you've seen changes and the like. But the most important thing is that the nation, the republic, stays stable. And beyond that is that our, engagement as citizens should be associated with how do we make Zambia better, and how is my engagement, how do I benefit from Zambia's growth? Because let me tell you, with what's happening over the next 5 years, with the plans the president has, this country is going to grow. It's going to develop. It will be. Now, the people who benefit the most, if while we are fighting each other based on partisan lines, you'll find that foreigners will be doing well. And we'll be watching. We'll be saying, why is it that foreigners are doing well? Because as they say, there's a saying that when siblings fight, the neighbors will eat their inheritance, something along those lines. And I believe that to be true. And that's something that's very consistent within Zambian society, is that there is, a necessary overindulgence in political fights and battles when
But sorry to cut you short. Does that speak to political loyalty, or can you touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, political loyalty, again, is based on so many factors. Some of them are genuine, some are ideological. Like if I strongly believe in conservative values, Christian values, or say a party has a certain manifesto that speaks to, say, socialist values, or some more capitalist values, some are anchored on constitutionalism. There's all these things that we need to begin to understand why you become part of a political party. For me, what attached me so much to the UPND was not only the quality of the leadership, because President Hichilema is the most phenomenal leader that I've come across. Even prior to seeing him ascend to the high office, I knew his mind, his vision for how to get the country out of debt, how to do all the things that he ended up doing, and what more he's going to do. That's what attracted me to it, and the clarity of the pillars of the UPND's developmental agenda, equitable access to education, to capital, to how do I say, developing the capital markets, developing the agricultural industry, the involvement of mining, and how all that's structured. I knew that quite fundamentally well. So for me, I was clear that this is where I belong, and that's really what it is. But that doesn't mean that I should not have respect for a person from another party who has a different opinion, because they have reasons that are also valid, the same way my reasons are valid, based on their experience, their education, their understanding of a given political party, right? So yeah, that's my, how do I say, brief on you.
So then point. What stops...
Sure.
What will it take for us to stop treating political parties as enemies, opponents?
What it will take is, I think I touched on it for a bit, but I'll touch on it a little bit more. I'll add more context. A person who's a member of another political party should never be your enemy. I believe that you're competing on ideas, and yes, there's pursuit of power, pursuit of high office, of parliamentary roles, and so on. But there's still democratic space. Like right now, and thanks to the passage of Bill 7, which led to a constitutional amendment, you have this proportional representation. So people are still represented in the entities of parliament. For example, parties, depending on the proportion of the vote that you got, you have the power to nominate certain members of different groupings, women, differently abled, youths, and the like. So you still have a voice, and that voice matters. And therefore, because governance is something that is a continuing thing, it's not necessarily, our role doesn't begin and end on voting day. It carries on. So now from the perspective of enmity, right, people becoming enemies on the basis of political affiliations, it's quite, how do I say, surprising to see that, because of the fact that sometimes also people associate a political party or things like that with a personal economic benefit. For example, some would say, I only have access to a bus route if I'm a member of a ruling party, right? Or I only have access to CC funding if I'm a member of the ruling party. But the fact of the matter is, if we detach, we depoliticize access to capital, you depoliticize access to trading places, tenders, then you have less enmity. And I think what's important is that as a country, we have to now start moving beyond associating politics with everything. Right. It should be that, like me, I'll give you an example. My office is open to anyone and everyone who is a citizen of this country. You got a green NRC, you have a right to engage me or any other government official under President Hakainde Hichilema's government, because we have to unify the country, regardless, even if you are known that you are a member of party XYZ, which is not in the ruling party, you are a citizen. And as a citizen, you have rights to the services and other things that government should provide. And to me, that is how we can move beyond the idea of, because again, the enmity, and I think the final point I make, probably also comes from the resentment of assuming that I will be kept out. My family won't eat if my party doesn't win. So if the other party wins, then that feeling of they're eating and I'm not. The most important thing is that, and I would use the analogy of eating. The president is like a chef who's baking, who's cooking, and having an enlarged economy that is enough to feed everyone. That regardless of your dispensation, your where you sit on the political spectrum, that you can have access to the benefits of what he's cooking. And when people, all these different policies we're talking about, they must not stay away. They must be part of it. and I must feel like, when I say they, obviously I'm talking about opposition, regardless of who you are, right? And this is a hand, and the president said it himself in his acceptance speech after the results came out. He wants to embrace every Zambian.
Right.
And that's the...
As it should be.
That's the key point. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, we do have a question from Evangelist Kefas Malu.
Okay.
Honorable Jito Kayumba, after the elections, how can young Zambians move beyond political divisions and actively participate in governance, not only during elections, but throughout the 5-year term?
Yeah, I think what's important when it comes to talk about governance, I think number one, we have to have a situation where, we're confident in that our voice matters, that will be received. Because the door's open, I've already given that view. Number two, when you pay attention to what we say, and I share this all the time, talk about, and of course I sit within the economic office, so I'm biased towards that. Energy, mining, infrastructure, agriculture, tourism, all these things. So the key point is that we need to make sure that more young Zambians are essentially making themselves available, as you are, right? So we know you, Ruth, right? Because besides us being on this sort of podcast conversation, there's many things that you do, which are associated with advocacy for the benefit of youth. And no one stopped you from doing what you do, right? And you weren't necessarily partisan, right? And I'm using you as an example because people have to see you as saying, wait a second, it's not an issue of getting permission. You step forward, you engage, you send messages on Facebook, you write emails, you show up at fora, youth events, and you become a participant. For me, I'm very biased towards more young people being involved in business because that's another way we create jobs. We need young people to be involved as entrepreneurs, as job creators. And of course, the platform of access to capital is there. We still are working on making sure we have more access to capital by way of pushing in more resources into the CEC, among other platforms, so that more Zambians can benefit. I think that to me, that's the most important thing. So to me, I would say that's one area. The other area is being available because the president made a deliberate decision as part of the constitutional amendment to get more young people into parliament. Because this was a guaranteed way that young people across the political spectrum, regardless, based on the proportional element of voting, that they will be brought in. And I'm excited to see what the parliament will look like. Because many young people will be nominated into parliament. And the voices, and this is really just the beginning, because it means that this will be the first time in Zambia's history where you've got a deliberate effort to to have an inclusive approach of women, young people, as well as differently abled. And the fruits of that will be seen, especially after 5 years. They'll say, wait a second, the opinions, the way laws, because you have to remember, parliamentarians are lawmakers. So as a lawmaker, and having a voice representing the cluster of youths, it means that those same youths who are in parliament will be able to craft, draft, and put across policies that benefit the youth. Because no one knows how better to serve a certain group than themselves. Exactly. And this, to me, is one of the keys. And young people should not lose sight of this opportunity because it's amazing.
Yeah, and just to add to what you've said concerning people being active, I think our talk of preparing before an opportunity comes, I think it's very important. It's an aspect that I think has helped me, even in my advocacy. I always prepare before an opportunity. So even for the young people out there, when we're talking of governance, we're talking of business, we're talking of raising capital, all those things, I think it's very important that they prepare even before the opportunities come.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
that's key. And that's why we're here. We mentor, we create an environment where more people can, Let me see. While you're asking, I'm looking out for questions, I'm looking out for...
Okay.
Yeah, so please, you may go ahead. I'm here. I just want to...
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if...
Oh, Mr. Hamududu.
Oh, he's on the... Okay, great.
I see you. Oh, I see very interesting people. Nice.
Oh, amazing. 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 Do you want to take one from there, then we come back to this one?
Yeah. So Chanda K says, how do we attend some forums as youth seeking to participate in policy debates? I'd be open to know when such discussions arise. Please use your platforms to ensure an ordinary youth like myself gets visibility in order to make contributions. Thank you, Chanda K, for that contribution. Yeah. Social media is powerful. Right now, you and I are live, right? And I want to be doing this as often as possible, as we've done in the last few weeks, because this is how we elevate access to opportunity for people having, how do I say, these doors opening for them, like forums and the like. We have quite a number, so I personally do masterclasses, and I invite people. I use the MSEPAL app for that. So Chanda K, use that to connect with people like me, but I'm not the only one. There's other leaders in government. When I say leaders or appointees, you've got PSs, you've got the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Arts. You can engage them. They're always advertising programs. So stay plugged in, and you can be assured, Chanda, and everyone else who's on this platform, that we will make sure that we keep you in the loop. Yeah, I think that's extremely important. And maybe one more point I thought I should make in terms of remembering our role. I think, and I use you again as an example. Life is about preparation, right? And I will borrow exactly what you said. And like what Chanda has asked, I want to be part of those conversations. But before you become part of the conversations, understand the role you want to play within the context of youth development. Of course, we all have different vocations. You've got finance people, people provide access to capital. You've got people who want to be directly involved in policy making. You have to know who's the right mentor for you to engage with. Because I may not be that relevant, say, to Chanda, right? Because I'm an investment person. And I'm happy to give advice on other things, but investment is the number one thing that I am able to do. And also look out for the internship programs, because we are going to execute. The president made a promise back before the election, of course, on Youth Day. And we're going to fulfill that, because people have to realize that just because we've won does not mean we'll walk back from our commitment. Everything we do, by the way, is really genuine. Like, we mean well. Take the MSEPAL platform. Some people thought that it's some sort of a gimmick to try to get youths excited to vote. But the fact is, even now that we've crossed the line from an election perspective, we now want to supercharge MSEPAL to provide more access to capital for young people. We're going to do more masterclasses, more engagements, guide them with all the tools around. And another, podcast conversation you and I will have is on how do you access capital, so we can go detailed into it. And we'll revolutionize how this economy works, and more young people will be involved. So yeah. So I'm open. Any other questions you have, we'll pick it up from there.
Okay, we have one from Onias Hamwia. As government intends to set up skills training centers in almost every district or province, has the government surveyed already existing colleges to see the quality of services being provided, and really assess if the service providers are qualified or not? I submit.
Wow, that's a great question. What's the name of the person?
Onias Hamwia.
Onias, thank you for that question. That's really intelligent. And I like that question for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's a recognition that we want to create these skill centers across the country, which is it's a fact. It's happening. But at the same time, they're existing skill centers. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Where you know that there's already a technical school in Mansa, or there's a technical school in Solwezi, or in Ndola, which there is. You just have to enhance that one. But where you don't have one, you create a new one. So that's my answer to that question is assessments are happening. The team at Teveta, who are fantastic. I love how that team are working. And they will be putting out a critical skills program, which basically allows young people to basically know what to pursue. Because I can tell you something else. You have a situation where, we as a country, many people want degrees in certain things. Doctors, lawyers, accountants, all these are very important. We don't want to undermine that. But we need more welders, more tilers, more electricians, machinists, people with skills that are very relevant because we're constantly looking for people with those skills. Factories that are coming up needs people with that sort of skill set. So with all that being said, you'll find that, you know, we are assessing, not only are we assessing, in fact, there's been a completion of an assessment.
Right.
We're now placing and establishing these skill centers and working with the existing ones that just require added funding so they can onboard more people. And then also we have work with the private sector for placements, like the skills training center in Mamba, which I was so impressed with. You find that close to 80% or so people there, after they graduate, they find a job. First Quantum, Mamba, Trade Kings. I did a video on this, if you just look back on my page. And this is the reason why I do this, is because all this is happening and you need to know about it, right? So thank you so much for that question.
Can you touch a little bit on skills mismatch? You talked of a few skills there.
Yeah.
So can you encourage that one person or youth out there who perhaps studied something and then like the skills and maybe the relevance of the skills and maybe also that interest is something different now as compared to what they felt before?
Sure. And it doesn't hurt to pivot if need be, because we need to make sure that one, you do a scoping of the entire private sector. And by the way, I need to mention this. There is a draft bill, which is a new employment act, which will essentially ensure that the quality, conditions of service for employees is improved.
Right.
But embedded in that bill, there's also issues associated with making sure that we're promoting relevant skills and also making sure that Zambians obviously are prioritized in having access to certain jobs.
Right.
So whenever a big company like a mine, we know many mining companies are hiring. There's a number of manufacturing companies, energy companies who are hiring. Before they look for an expatriates to come, they need to make sure that that skill is available in country. In the event that that skill is not available, then they can be granted permission to bring in an expat, but on the condition that they have an understudy, somebody who they can train, who can take over from that role within no later than say 2 years, something along those lines. But the skills mismatch issue is something that is certainly an evolving thing, because you know, technology is growing, it's changing.
Right.
Who knew that the demand for solar panel installers would have been as high as it is, because we don't have enough in the country. But you have places who are training people to do that. We have a solar explosion, that's what the president calls it, solar boom, where more people will be involved in the establishment of solar power plants. And of course, the issues around food processing, tourism, all of this is sitting under the new relevant skills development program that Teveta is running. I want to, in fact, one of the future conversations I'll have is I'll bring Teveta on board to also explain, and these are things we want to do better in this new term, in the next term of President Hichilema, is to make sure that as government we're better at communicating, so people know what's going on. Nothing should just be a surprise. We should know ahead of time that Teveta is doing this. This is, you know, this is the investment in education. Young people can be enrolled in this, and these are the companies who are hiring. Then we use the Minisepala platform to make sure that young people are easy to find, so that even the young person is not saying, Jito, how do I get a job at that company?
Right.
I said, no, if your information is in this platform, it'll be easier for that company to find you and for you to check whether or not that opportunity exists, because we're onboarding companies as well.
Okay. So we have a question from Nosta Clinton Chandalala. Jito Kayumba and Ruth Ngoma, how will government, considering the fact that a lot of graduates are graduating from universities, doing different programs, law, business administration, economics, etc., what is the intention of government to harmonize the recruitment process, including those that graduated with business courses, as open to customary recruitment of teachers and health professionals?
Okay, interesting. And the name of the person again?
Nosta Clinton Chandalala.
Mr. Chandalala. Okay, but Chandalala. I like that name. Now, I'll tell you what. This is a very interesting point. So government recruits... Okay, so what we've heard over the last 5 years, government recruited over 30,000 teachers, right? Maybe even touching close to 40-something. Healthcare workers, soldiers.
Right.
There's a number of people recruited, right? But obviously those are essential for certain needs for the country. Teachers, you need them because you need to improve. We made education free.
Right.
So you need to improve the teacher to student ratio so that you're enhancing the quality of education. the patient to doctor ratio or patient to nurse ratio needed to be improved. Therefore, the recruitment of those people. Now, it's I like the question because I think it also gives us a chance to give some sort of perspective of the issue associated with relevance in government. Now, government can only hire a certain number of lawyers to be the advocates for the state,
right?
Prosecutors, people working in the Attorney General's chambers and the Ministry of Justice, people working in the courts. All of those obviously are also recruited by government, but there's only a limited amount who can work in government. Same is true for people with business degrees. And I'll tell you this, there is a huge desire among many people out there to work in government. There's a clear perception that government is where you have job security,
right.
You have certain benefits. So it's a desire for many people. But I need to be very honest about this, is that there's only a fixed number that government can employ. The list of occupations that was mentioned by Chandalala is one that you once you reach a certain number, it's not employing people for the purpose of saying there's high unemployment, so therefore you need to employ a lot of people. It's again about relevance, because remember this: government has a budget. Of that budget, a good number goes to what we call emoluments. Emoluments is salaries, all sorts of things that to do with the civil service wage bill being paid across the board. Now, a budget that is raised by the government has limitations. We're not yet a rich country, and I say yet, but we will be. Right now, the last budget was about $12 billion. Right. That's that's the level it was at. That $12 billion, where did it come from? Close to 80% came from taxes, came from mining companies, all these different companies, pay as you earn, you name it, was collected by ZRA, taken to the treasury. The balance is raised in aid. We do still get support from some countries in the form of grants, aid from the EU, from Japan, from different countries. Then you've got the final part is contracted by debt. Nkongole, you go and borrow. Right? It's still a thing. Governments do have to borrow to meet certain obligations, but we borrow obviously for things that allow us to grow. You go and borrow to invest so that you make a return and you pay back. Also, and some of that borrowing, by the way, comes from us because we go and subscribe to bonds, to treasury bills, and things like that. It's not just foreign borrowing, even domestic borrowing, because government also borrows from its own people. So that's how budgets are raised. So now, if you have only maxed out your budget at $12 billion, but the public wants to be employed in government, but you don't have money to employ them, so therefore you don't have the capacity to pay their salaries. Right? That's the issue. So we have to, now, how do you solve that problem? You solve it by enhancing private sector capacity to employ. So the list that Chandala shared is a list that we have to continue to stimulate with the private sector. When we talk about 10, 10, 5, 3, 2, 1, 1, that means more jobs for lawyers, because all of these are transactions. There's legal issues. There's jobs for people who work in factories, in manufacturing. There's people who will be working in everything from energy, technicians, engineers. Even the fiscal envelope will increase, because what I mean by fiscal envelope is the amount of money that comes into the treasury will become higher, because the more productive the economy is, the more people are paying tax, the more transactions they are, the higher GDP, the wealthier people will be. The wealthier the government will be. So when the government is wealthier, guess what it can do? Hire more people. And this is where we're going. And I hope that addresses the question. It's a mix. Let's get the private sector going to be more productive, pay more tax, employ more people. That will enhance government's capacity to employ more people and to be more effective as a service delivery platform. But at the same time, the job creation mix is largely in the hands of the private sector, with some stimulation coming from government as well.
Okay, we do have a question from Jolita Kabuta.
Sure.
I read, Mr. Jito Kayumba, I'm asking you, sir, kindly one day visit Mtendere compound. We would love to see you so that you hear our cries and why And why can't you bring the investors to open factories for making drinks and other stuffs like those old days, like President Kaunda did for more jobs?
Yeah, I like that. You know, that made me smile for a number of reasons. One is I've been to Mutendere many times. I just need to know. And what's her name again? So you have to remind me.
Jalita.
Jalita.
Sorry, yeah, Jalita Kabuta.
Jalita, it's just unfortunate that I don't know you personally, or at least we've not met. If we have, my apologies. But the fact of the matter is, I like that she's very specific with what she's asking. Let's create a drinks company. Now, is it the government to create that drinks company? That's the question. Who should create it? Let's have a conversation, Jalita. I hope you're watching this. So, Jalita, you know for a fact this is a business idea that you and I can work on, right? In your community in Mtendere, you know for a fact that there's a demand for drinks, right? Now, because you've noticed that demand for drinks, one of the best business ideas come from the fact that you are filling a need where there's a gap.
Right.
So therefore, we need to ask ourselves, what type of drinks are we going to produce? Number two, we need to now come up with a plan of what product. We know we're making drinks, but what kind? Are they fizzy? Are they juices? How are we going to brand it? What are we going to call it? Then we create a capital budget. We create a business plan. Let's go shop that business plan with financial institutions, banks, investors. It's not about government saying, go and set up a drinks factory there.
Right.
It's about the private sector recognizing the gap, as Jalita has done, that let's create a new business. I know somebody who recently told me a certain town where they buy Millie Meal. Everyone in the town goes to buy Millie Meal from far because it's a town where the ShopRite is. It's not far from, and I'm deliberately not saying the name of the town because the person told me, please, this is a secret. Help me with this. Now, he wants to set up a small milling plant in his home village, which is not far from a certain town. Now he is bringing a commodity closer to the people, where it'll be easy for him to sell because they won't have to go as far, and he's already planting maize because the president said we should plant. So these are the type of things. These are things that excite me, really. And I hope, Jalita, you can send me a message. Let me see if she's not here. Do you have her contacts?
I can get them because
Okay.
I got it from the comment section, so I can track her from the comment section.
Okay, when you find her contact, just send it to me.
Okay.
I want us to have a conversation. DM me. Let's have a chat.
Okay.
I'm very interested to see how we can do this. Now, going back to what KK used to do, let's not forget something. KK was president of Zambia from 1964 to 1991. How many were we in Zambia? I can tell you, don't worry. In 1964, we were 3.2 million people, right? We were very few. The country was generating 700,000 tons of copper every year. Our GDP per capita was very high. The government could afford to give people free things at the time.
Right.
So we had a bit of a soft life as Zambians. You and I, unfortunately, were not there. But Zambia was a nice place to live. When I say this, I mean, we are going back into a place of prosperity. But if to put it this way, imagine being a family of three. And say you've got a salary of, let me use this example. Say you've got a salary of 10,000 and you're a family of three. Your family becomes 21, but your salary hasn't grown up by that equivalent amount. Say it has grown up by 2,000. Right. Say it means that each child in your family eats less because they are more. They're more. Because the resources have not increased. That's the story of, it was a socialistic approach where the government would create a company and to address an unemployment issue. But was it sustainable? The answer is unfortunately not, because that's why 1991 happened. The economy went like this. Productivity that is driven by government. And this is the story around the world, by the way. From Venezuela to Cuba to most socialist countries, they are unviable economically, where the government owns a bunch of companies, and you find that those companies are usually heavily indebted, or the balance sheet is off, it's insolvent, they're never profitable, they don't deliver dividends, but they carry out one social need, is that they employ people. Right. But you find that even the quality of the products are not that good. You know why? Because they're not in the competitive market. You know, when a government creates a company, typically they try to be the monopoly. Right. Monopolies oftentimes don't satisfy the customers that well. Let me give you an example. When I was a little kid, there used to be these like cornflakes companies. I think one was owned by the government. And you'd find, because we didn't have options, Kellogg's, Bokomo, blah, blah, blah. Now you've got all sorts of Trade Kings. The quality of cornflakes wasn't that great. And guess what? Because it was a monopoly, they didn't have much of an incentive to create a better quality product. Because it's like, but after, who are we competing with? You have no choice. This is what we
this is
make.
what you get.
Exactly. So competition is healthy. It's important. So therefore, the idea now is that if we want to be a first world country, we want to be a wealthy country where citizens have access to good quality products at a reasonable price, we have to have competition, and all these things have to be produced by the private sector, because governments are never that good at business. The history is there. Government can have a holding, passive holding as a shareholder and make dividends, that's fine, as we do with ZSMIH, as we do with IDC and other companies under that portfolio. And we have to be in strategic sectors for national security, energy and the like. That's why ZESCO is still very much state-owned, and a few others. So there's some sectors you don't give to the private sector. This one, government has to control. But there's some sectors where you say, no, let's liberalize to allow for more of that. So yeah, I hope that answers Julita's question, but I really look forward to, hearing more from you, and yeah.
So I will read my last question here, and then you pick one more to close up there.
Sure.
Okay, so we have a question from Tabu Machakula. Mr. Jito sir, how are you? We would like to see more job opportunities, even for some of us who couldn't manage to further with education, to create businesses and give us capitals for a start, at least. Please, sir, some of us would really like to do something, but where do we start from? That's the problem, sir.
Okay, thank you for that, and I appreciate that. One thing I'll tell you, when I was at Kamugodi, just last week, for those of you who don't know what Kamugodi is, it was a place where, I'm sorry to say this, I know we're healing, but I'll tell you this. PF cadres used to take people, torture them, sometimes rape the marketeers there, if they were not aligned with them. That's what Kamugodi is. We're reforming that place to be a skill center for entrepreneurs, for marketeers. So that's a commitment we've made, and we're going to do it. This is part of the narrative we're pushing in terms of turning people from, especially people in the market, people in the entrepreneurship space. What we need really is a situation where you don't have to have, say, a degree. We respect degrees, we respect education. But if you've not gone to school, you've not reached even grade 12, the economy should have room for you, because it does not mean that you cannot trade, because business can be taught, even to a person who has not advanced in education, because they were disadvantaged historically. We've brought free education now, and the 2.5 million children who are at school today, they have a clear chance at social mobility. But guess what? There are adults today who have not even done grade 9 because they don't have that privilege. But we cannot forget them. They're also Zambian. So whether you're a bus conductor, you're, there's these guys on the streets, they say Bamwamazi, there's different guys, right? I think we can, and I like the idea of gathering these young people and saying, guys, let's come up with a business model. Easy to teach, trading, mobile money, taxi, bus, riders. There's all sorts of trading opportunities we can drive. And therefore, my friend there who asked that question, he needs to know that the doors are open for him to. Let him not feel as though because Sanapunzile means he cannot be a successful business person.
He shouldn't feel disqualified.
Exactly. Education helps a lot. But I know successful business people who've not gone very far in school, and they've done very well for themselves. There's certain skills that can be picked up. And also, we can put them in certain tertiary training programs, vocational training programs, where they can pick up a skill, even being an electrician. You don't have to be that sophisticated, right? But you can still have a reasonable quality of life. And this is something we're going to do more of. And I do a lot of these, even when I'm doing these in Mr. master classes, my conversation is around, hey guys, even if in the Tamasambidida, it's okay. This capital will help you like this. And they prove the case. I remember when I was in Chipata 3 weeks ago, these young people, we gave them a certain amount of money. They told us they almost doubled it. They even have donated money to one of the orphanages. It's in the videos I posted recently. So all of this is an example of what's possible. And I think Zambians are smart. Zambians are capable, regardless of their level of education, even their call it social positioning, so to speak, right? Whether you're from Gumayadi, Komboni, people have to have that thing of, guys, let's work together to create this value together.
Okay, so to wrap up, I'll allow you to pick one question from the comment section.
Alrighty.
Yes.
Carol, you want to meet me? Sarah, thank you. Oh, Frank Sakala says, I am a good teacher. Thanks, Frank. I appreciate your comment. Okay, yes, I am a life coach, Francis. Hey, you Lamek Sams, stop being naughty, saying Napupu is watching. They're also Zambian. Leave them alone. Okay, so let me make life easier. And thank you, Lapson from Kasempa. I see you. Just want to really acknowledge everyone who's on this. Maybe I'll use this to just do a closing remark.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And I want to re-emphasize a number of things. You see, I'm tracking you guys live, you see? I'm checking out your comments. So, friends, citizens of the Republic, I need to make this clear. Know that when you elected Bali, 2.9 million of you, which we appreciate, you made a decision to enable this country, this economy to grow, and for us to have inclusive development that leaves no one behind, including those 1.8, among others, who did not vote for him. Remember that you are Zambian, and remember that we love you too. No matter what anyone has said in the past, whether by the past few days, even those of you who commented on my page at the Ukuya Kwena Muleya, you're still a Zambian. We're still there for you. So where you need help, you need government services, you need us to provide the needed things that we do as a government, the door will never close to you, because what the president wants is to unite this country. It doesn't matter what your tribe is, what language you speak, what your complexion is, what your gender, what your age. You are a Zambian. And I want to reiterate this message. We've come through an election. It has had an outcome. And as a country, we must move on. We must move forward. And what I stated earlier is we're saddened that there were some things that transpired. We're still getting to know more. I can't talk more about them because they're quite sensitive. They're beyond even me. And we extend our condolences once again to the families of those who've lost loved ones. And where people like me, I can only speak for myself, have said things that may have hurt or offended you, I personally want to apologize to you. And I want to extend a hand once again for you to know that if there's anything whatsoever I can do in my capacity as a special assistant to the president, I will be there for you. No one will be turned away. Let's make this country great together. Let's build it together. Because believe you me, this economy is going to rise. We're going to employ a lot of people. A lot of wealth will be created in this country. The last thing we need is to see you left behind. We want to make sure we bring you on board so that you can be part of the developmental story of this country. And we will always be proud looking back that we have created an amazing country, one that our children can inherit, where we're not in conflict with each other, we're not calling each other names, we're not insulting each other on social media, but we're celebrating a better quality of life, where cost of living has come down, income has gone up, we're all busy doing something for the betterment of our country. I say this once again, we love you, and we have to, because that's what God expects of us, that we're a Christian nation, and let's never depart from being a Christian nation. I thank you for the opportunity for you joining us today. Thank you, Ruth, for hosting this conversation. I thought it was important for us to have a frank talk as we've had tonight, and more of this will come. Whatever it is that you want us to talk about, I posted something the other day about what you want to see in the national budget. We'll have a conversation about that in coming days, but I'll stop there. Thank you, Ruth.
Oh, you're welcome. Where am I closing from?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much for joining us. And I was hosting Mr. Jito Kayumba, who is the special assistant and advisor to the president. We'll have more conversations aligning to youth development, finance, business, name it, because this is where we actually help our fellow young people promote their businesses as well and learn from Jito Kayumba and other people that we're going to have on this platform. So thank you for joining us and have a good night.